fine. Um, like I was just saying that the thing that I think you can probably help them with the most is helping them develop variety, because if and when they do get a gig doing a commercial or a video game or something, um, if someone says, "Hey, yeah, I want you to write something that sounds like such and such," they need the tools to be able to change gears like that. Um, if every assignment you give them is, write a melody with no bar lines and no meter, or like if everything is kind of the same assignment, that it might like put them on a better path for like concert music, but it might not open them up to the variety of stuff they may have to do in composing for media. So I mean, even for my composition class at the end of the semester, um, like right now I have them. The assignment they turned in today was writing like 5 different motives of like 6 notes or less.
Yeah.
But each motive had to have like a different character. So they would play some of their motives, and then people in the room would kind of speculate as to what they thought the character was supposed to be, and then the composer would kind of explain what they were going for.
So 6 notes was your maximum or your minimum?
That was my maximum. I said, and my minimum I think I said was 3. Most people did like 5 or 6 though.
Okay. I had a couple of students come in with stuff this week, kind of like just to show me what they'd been working on lately.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I kept asking them a few times, like, what would you say is your main motive here? And the students would say that their main motive was like this, like, 12-bar theme.
Right. My main motive is this ostinato that goes on for 6 minutes.
No. It was like, my main motive is 30 seconds long.
Yeah.
Like Romeo and Juliet, never-ending melody.
Right.
Like, no. No.
Right.
Like, I don't know who taught you what a motive is, but that ain't it.
That's not a motive, that's a section.
I said that's a theme. And that's fine, but you can make themes out of motives, but
yeah,
they're not the same.
Right.
And
another thing you could also do is
he looked at me like, "Are you sure you're a doctor? Because I think I know. I think I know from motives."
You could have them just imitate something that they've heard, like either from a musical standpoint or a technological standpoint, or both. Like as if they were ever asked, especially if they want to do video game music, like, hey, we don't have the money to hire, this guy, so we're going to hire you. So you need to sound like that guy. So it's kind of like, well, film composers had to do that for years, but still do it with an orchestra where you just basically sound like someone who's famous who writes for film or whatever medium. But then it's also like Haydn would say, or at least it was either Haydn as a teacher or some of the other composers who had their own students back in the day, they would simply tell their students to copy one of the scores by hand. So it gave you like a manuscript ability, it gave you penmanship, but you also saw like voicings, you saw harmony, you saw orchestration, and you wrote it all out. So you actually, in a kind of indirect way, you kind of handled this one person's piece and like carried it over here and sort of rewrote it. But in a way, the modern version of that is to me to just imitate it, just to try to rebuild it, but with your own technology. Or like Kevin does with the Spider-Man main title, with his sample library.
Mm-hmm. I still can't find that file. I'm bummed about that.
And it sounded pretty damn close too.
Yeah. That was like 1 or 2 computers ago. I think it might be lost forever.
Okay, well we can start. So Dave, we are still like gonna have to like look at the camera. We can't just like be like, whatever. This is audio, bitches.
Bill wants to know if he can do the show naked.
I can't hear you. Let's see. Dave has been muted somehow.
I muted my microphone. You cannot do the show naked.
No, that's too bad.
But
that's fine. I wasn't going to.
You don't want to worry about the visual as much. That I am totally down with.
Okay.
and I'm going to play the intro thing in, but it's just going to be audio. So just when you hear it get to the kind of bump where you start talking,
Okay.
where it ends, and feel free to talk over the sustain that's there. And now I'm not seeing, where is it? Aha.
Okay.
So
I'm ready to go whenever, like, Kevin.
okay.
Yeah.
So I just need to open this thing, add it to playlist. Why do you start playing automatically? That is silly. Okay. Start the recording. Oh, dudes, by the way, Synergy is this application that I found that allows you to control any other machine or set of machines from the keyboard and mouse of one of them. So I've got my MacBook here, and I've also got this Windows machine that runs SoundNotion, but I'm using my MacBook's keyboard and trackpad to control.
Wow. I remember the days when you needed hardware for that. You need the KVM switches.
It's just
remember
a little
those?
networking thing. You tell it the IP address of the kind of the server master computer that you're using, and it finds it and does it, and it's free.
That's cool.
Anyway.
And a little bit scary. I mean, because that means we're only one step away from, like, I'm going to have this keyboard
Password on it.
and mouse control that computer. That's one step away from, I'm going to have this keyboard and mouse control that person on the other side of the room. No.
I think that's actually several steps that go in between.
I think it might just be the one.
No, well, I could be wrong. So, Bill, you're going to start, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I can lock the camera on you when we start, but then after you start going, I'm going to just release it, and it'll go to whomever is speaking automatically.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So basically, I've taken my own job out of the whole scheme.
I'm sitting back, kind of relaxed, and I know Kevin's a lot closer to the camera.
Don't worry about it. This is an audio thing.
We don't have to do, like, the whole.
No. It's totally cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bill, while chilling out relaxed, were you also shooting some b-ball outside of the school?
Could
Well,
have.
until a couple of guys who were up to no good started making trouble in my neighborhood.
Let's stop this before we get out of control. All right.
Okay.
I mean, Dave, I just got into one little fight, but my mom got scared.
Can I get some quiet on the set, gentlemen? All right, here we go.
Hello and welcome to Streamers and Punches, the podcast from SoundNotion TV that looks at current events and new releases in the world of film music. My name is Bill Witham.
And I'm Kevin Wilt.
And welcome to our first audio show, I think, or audio experiment. We're going to talk about some, as we mentioned, some new releases. A few movies that are out right now, got some headlines, got some Emmy announcements. Kevin, you were kind of paying attention to some of that. Some friend of the show business.
We have lots of friend of the show news today. Not friend of the show, Alan Silvestri, although hopefully someday he will be a friend of the show. It was last Sunday, I think it was, the Creative Arts Emmys, which are all the Emmys that are important but not important enough to show the awards on television. So like music and, I don't know, craft services, whatever else there is.
Costume design, special effects.
Yeah. But Alan Silvestri won 2 Emmys for Cosmos. He won for Best Music for a Series and Outstanding Original Main Title Theme Music. So congratulations to Alan. And like you said, lots of friend of the show news. Friend of the show, Michael Price, who we interviewed maybe about a year ago. I think we talked to Michael. It was not too long before the 3rd series of Sherlock came out.
Mm-hmm.
But he and fellow composer David Arnold won an Emmy for Sherlock for, I think it was the second. Was it the second? The episode was called His Last Vow. I can't remember if that's the second or third episode from series 3. But anyway, they won Best Music Composition for a miniseries, movie, or special. So that's exciting because they've been. I think all 3 series of Sherlock have been nominated for Emmys. I think this is the first one that they've won, so that's very exciting.
And it's been good work. So
Yeah,
I think that makes David Arnold an honorary friend of the show.
Sure, why not? Yeah. Another friend of the show, Jeff Beal, who we talked to a couple months ago about House of Cards. He had been nominated for an Emmy. He did not win because we already talked about the people who did. But he signed, and Bill and I both got this email from, or at least I got it in a G. Schirmer newsletter thing yesterday. Mm-hmm. He signed with G. Schirmer to distribute his. He does a lot of jazz stuff, and when he does concert works and things like that. So that's pretty cool. I think that's exciting.
He actually followed that up today on Facebook with an announcement about how he's excited to be, signing with G. Schirmer, and it's going to sort of motivate him or inspire him to kind of get back in and do a few more concert works. And I think he said his next commission is a choral piece for I think it's the L.A. Master Chorale and the Eric Whitacre Singers. So he's got to be working with some groups. So
L.A. Master Chorale, those guys are okay. They're good. They're good community choir. They're okay.
Yeah, they can sight sing whatever you put down in front of them, probably.
Yeah, they're actually pretty good.
They probably don't ever use a pitch pipe either. They probably all have perfect pitch and just go. I don't know.
Those lyrics. Yeah. What else we got? It has been announced that Danny Elfman is writing the score for 50 Shades of Grey.
Did that make you laugh like it made me laugh, Kevin?
It did. Why did it make you laugh? Well, I think it probably made you laugh for the same reason it made me laugh.
I just think any announcement with 50 Shades of Grey in the title is automatically humorous.
Okay.
Someone told me that book series came about. It was originally fan fiction for the Twilight series.
Oh,
so basically, fans who thought that the Twilight series didn't get R-rated enough decided to go ahead and take it upon themselves to fashion a more R-rated literary contribution to the rest of the world. Thanks, I think, but not really. I don't know. And then somewhere it got tweaked, and it was like, no, it's not going to be about the characters from Twilight. It'll be these other characters, but keep the rest of the stuff there.
Keep all the snacks, yeah.
And the rest is
history. That's not why it made me laugh.
But it's just like a punchline now for everything.
Yeah, it is. It is. No, it made me laugh because my second thought upon hearing that news was that, that could be pretty good because Danny Elfman, he's certainly done some more serious drama stuff the last couple of years. The big one that comes to mind is was Milk with Sean Penn. It's like a big drama kind of thing. So he certainly does some serious stuff. But that was my second thought. My first thought, my immediate reaction was this is going to be 1990s Danny Elfman scoring 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah, it's just going to be really awkward, And that made me laugh.
That is exactly what 50 Shades of Grey should sound like.
Exactly. I'm thinking
on board with that.
Right. I was thinking, 50 Shades of Grey, but it will sound like Pee Wee Herman, and that could be a problem.
Or that could be right on the money because I haven't read the books and I don't really care. But either way, I think it'll be more of the darker drama thing. But I thought also of the
books did great things for Thomas Tallis.
Yes.
There's a mention of Spem and Allium in the books, and everybody that read it was like, hey, what is this thing? And so everybody went on iTunes and found this recording of Thomas Tallis's Spem and Allium to figure out what it was, and the publishers saw this interest and they put together this classical compilation of stuff inspired by 50 Shades of Grey, featuring prominently Spem and Allium.
Yeah.
Well,
music connection for you.
Yeah, every now and then something so wrong can actually have a positive effect on other things. Can shed light in strange places. So,
Hmm.
yay for Danny Elfman. Congrats, Danny.
Yeah.
Have fun with that. Um, so, and then the final thing, I just want to give a shout out to friend of the show, Scott Glasgow. Happy birthday, Scott. And I don't know how old he is, but he's, uh, third or some years young, and I think that's great. And that's it. Just wanted to say happy birthday.
There you go. Happy birthday, Scott. So
Yeah.
yeah, lots of friend of the show news. One last piece of friend of the show news, because we talk about John Williams enough that, let's face it, he's a friend of the show. And I met him, so that kind of counts. He and I are buddies, right? So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you were just like drinking with him last weekend, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so there's a piece in the LA Times just a couple of days ago, yesterday actually it looks like, the LA Phil in September. What's the actual date? September 30th. Is holding what I assume is like their season opening, but it's a gala concert. But this concert is a tribute to John Williams. So okay, orchestra concert featuring a lot of music by John Williams, not an unusual thing by any stretch. Certainly not an unusual thing for the LA Phil. I mean, they do a concert with John Williams conducting like at least once a year.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I found really interesting about this, though, they're going to be doing a lot of Star Wars on the concert, which again, not particularly interesting. They're going to be performing this piece called Soundings, which Williams wrote about 10 years ago for the opening of the Disney Concert Hall. So that's kind of cool. That's their piece. The thing that I find really fascinating, though, so they're doing Star Wars and Schindler's List and looks like some The Adventures of Tintin and a lot of the stuff you would expect from a John Williams concert. But the really fascinating thing is that it's their music director, Gustavo Dudamel, who will be conducting the concert. That is a really unheard of thing. Like I said, there are concerts in orchestras of all shapes and sizes all across the country that do film music concerts and do John Williams concerts, but they're all Pops concerts. They're not. You never see like the music director conducting that stuff. It's always the Pops conductor or something like that. So not only is it the music director conducting a concert like this, but it's, I think with very little argument, probably the most famous conductor in the world right now. Just the idea that it's Gustavo Dudamel conducting Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange, but it's also, I think it's neat.
I'm kind of curious. I know it sounds silly to say, oh, well, I wonder what his interpretation will be of it or something like that, because the music kind of plays itself. And
right.
Well, actually, no, I take that back, because every time, at least I would say 1980s through the 90s, when Williams conducted Boston Pops pretty consecutively and consistently, you'd hear little kind of isms in the way Boston Pops performed the marches and the film music concert arrangements and stuff. And then when you'd hear, like, I don't know, the Slovak Philharmonia Orchestra play an album that they made on the cheap, it just sounded, well, that maybe the orchestra wasn't up to snuff either, but I would hear certain rhythms and certain accents that just weren't there when, like, John Williams wasn't conducting it. It's like he had there's kind of a certain kick there. But anyway,
I would agree. I've seen him conduct
too. So
yeah, I've seen him conduct a couple of times, and I've been to lots of orchestra Pops concerts where they're doing Star Wars or Indiana Jones or E.T. or whatever. I would agree. I think for me the thing that it is which I find really fascinating, because Bill, you and I, and we've listened to those recordings a lot. Everyone's very, very familiar with the opening Star Wars fanfare. The thing that I think he manages to do that a lot of Pops conductors maybe don't is when you watch him conducting his own music, the tempos are always exactly right on. Like, it's kind of amazing that that opening fanfare to Star Wars was recorded almost 40 years ago, and when he conducts it nowadays, the tempo is still right there. Usually, when I've seen that piece done with different Pops concerts and things like that, the conductors they're kind of pushing and pulling the tempo a little bit more just to kind of make it their own. But when it's him, it does seem like there's a difference, and I think a lot of it is the tempos being exactly where we are familiar with the tempos being.
Right. Right.
So you're right. It'll be. Are people going to have big discussions about, Dudamel's interpretation of Mahler versus Simon Rattle's interpretation of Mahler, and have the same discussion about Dudamel's interpretation of Yoda's theme? Probably not.
That would be cool.
It would be really cool. That would be a wonderful moment to geek out with. But
who cares about the tempo? Like, if you want to play with the tempo, that's great. Like, that's the special thing that you get to do outside the context of the edited film.
That's right.
It would actually, since we're talking like big name conductors, it would be interesting to say like, what does Dudamel's Imperial March sound like versus Leonard Slatkin's Imperial March?
But that's the thing. I mean, I guess maybe Slatkin might be the one exception. But when you think of like other orchestra music directors, whether it's Slatkin or Alan Gilbert or Eschenbach or Simon Rattle or whoever, I would almost guarantee most of those names, the people on that level, they've never conducted Star Wars. You know what I mean? So that's why what I think is interesting about this is you have a really, really high-profile conductor who is going to conduct this music. And usually, like I said, it's some kind of pops conductor or something.
There's a few surprises. I know that Zubin Mehta has done Star Wars before and recorded it.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, not a ton, but he's done it. And there's an album of L.A. from back in the day when he was with them, and it's like a whole space fantasy concept album. So like one disc is the planets, and then the other one is like Also Sprach, and then a suite from Star Wars.
Okay.
And then also, let's see, Zubin Mehta and Esa-Pekka Salonen.
The Bernard Herrmann CD?
Well, there's that, but I mean, it's wait, I guess maybe it was with a focus towards Bernard Herrmann, but I want to say, look, if you're in L.A. and he's obliging to conduct Bernard Herrmann film music, I want to say he probably slipped in maybe some Jaws or something here or there, perhaps. But yeah,
there's an album that the LA Phil recorded. This is maybe 12 or 15 years ago or something.
I think
it was back when Esa-Pekka Salonen was their music director, and they did a whole album of suites of Bernard Herrmann's music. So it was like Psycho and Vertigo and North by Northwest and Taxi Driver.
Yeah,
I think
it's good too.
It's fantastic. It's really good.
That
I guess is another rare example of a bit.
Is one for the record books. So it's
that's the Fandango, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
It's so good.
I love that.
But that I guess is that rare example of a big name music director conducting film music. But in a way, I mean, Bernard Herrmann is like Herrmann and Korngold. Those are the ones that you can kind of hide behind and say, "Oh no, this is still pretty serious music." Like I feel like Bernard Herrmann doesn't quite have his reputation doesn't quite have like the film composer tarnish that a lot of other composers do.
Right.
Like that one you can kind of cheat with a little bit. But no, I think this is really interesting that Dudamel is conducting this concert. And again, he's like a young, energetic guy, and a lot of Williams' music is really big, energetic kind of stuff. So I imagine that'll be a pretty good concert. But again, it's their opening gala concert. I'm sure tickets will be crazy expensive, and
it'll definitely be a good pairing. I think a good combination. Yeah. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about a couple things I've been listening to. First, I want to just go through the list because it looks like there's a lot of things, but
it sounds like you've been busy. I have not. I've been kind of bogged down. We've already started the semester this week, so
it's been difficult. I've got finished up classes this week. Next week I've got meetings, and then the week after we start back classes. But at the same time, I've been trying to write and trying to work on our project for Tim, and also catch up to episodes and whatnot. So I did have a chance between all of these things to finish the Orange is the New Black seasons 1 and 2, and the show's awesome. I rented The Raid 2, which is sort of one of the most recent and kind of amazingly kick-ass martial arts films. Guardians of the Galaxy I saw in the theaters. Hemlock Grove season 2. I'm just I just don't really know why I watched that show because it's easy to stream, I suppose.
I was just wondering why you watched that show after.
I haven't seen that's one of the Netflix originals. That's Eli Roth.
Yeah, and I
Right?
keep thinking it's gonna be so good because all Netflix originals are good, right?
No,
And
like Dawson's Creek with with
True Blood.
with True Blood. That's
Ooh.
good.
But True
does
Blood
not
I
sound
think
good.
is
No, it's like Dawson's Creek with
watered down True Blood.
bad knockoff Harry Potter.
Ugh.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could do like a whole podcast of all the issues I think I have with the show, but they
let's
keep
not do that, though.
introducing. It's like they keep trying to have all these unanswered, mysterious things and these strange proceedings going on in their town, but they also are basically a show about vampires and werewolves, and they don't even really. I'm like 4 episodes into the second season, and I'm still irritated that the first season ended up the way it did because it. So it's like maybe I'm frustrated because the resolve and the answers are all on the horizon, and I just haven't gotten them. And it's like, no, I think the show will just continue to be very lackluster and very missing out on all these opportunities to really invest in their own mythology that they are so quick to trot out. Like, it's about werewolves and it's about vampires. Okay, well then do that. But they're trying to sort of have some weird cake and eat it too, and not do very much and enjoy the things they've introduced. They keep introducing more things that they're not answering. So it's just mystery piled on top of mystery, and then you just don't give a shit after a while because it's stupid. And but so Nathan Bard, okay, let me back up. So there's that. Then I saw Inside Llewyn Davis by Coen Brothers, and then I picked up the 2 CD Empire of the Sun and How to Train Your Dragon 2. So very quickly, the Raid 2 was Joseph Trapanese. I'm going to butcher these names. Fajar Yuskamal and Arya Prayogi. The 3 of them worked together on the score. Was kind of electronic, a lot of rhythm-based, a lot of textures, and probably some loops. But it was badass, and how it combined with the film, and the energy, and the choreography, and everything kind of worked together. And honestly, it just needed propulsion in a lot of the scenes. The fight scenes, the car chase, the sort of high energy, and it just was, that was an amazing martial arts film, and the score was kind of right there providing the energy for it. And like we had mentioned earlier, Guardians by Tyler Bates. Kevin, you and I can discuss it more when you've had a chance to check it out, but I did think...
I've been slacking on that one.
I'd never heard something by Tyler Bates that I thought, I will remember that, and Tyler Bates seemed to be like really delivering the goods, but this felt like that. There was a theme, there was all the energy that was there that was needed, and like you and I mentioned, there was even a great soundtrack of selected songs that were really cleverly used, and they were fun, energetic, memorable songs that everyone's heard before, but they're not always quite the most go-to right away on the top list of sounds from the 70s or whatever. But they were fun. It was a fun, good, appropriate selection of songs. And as Dave even mentioned, it's like #1 on the Billboard charts right now, I think, for soundtrack compilations, something like that.
No, it's #1 on the Billboard 200, which is for all albums.
For all albums. That's, wow, that's even, yeah.
So there, it was actually what was the stupid cartoon earlier this year that did the same thing? What was the cartoon with the animals?
The cartoon with the animals?
It was a cartoon that had animals. It was the one that was not...
There were like 19 animated movies with animals in them every year.
Was there a Happy Feet sequel, maybe?
Yeah.
Or was there something else with penguins?
Penguins?
What was the one with penguins?
Happy Feet is the one with penguins.
No.
There was one that was like the #1 album. It was a Disney movie, I thought.
Talking about Frozen?
Oh, Frozen.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of.
Let it go, dude. Let it go.
Frozen was the #1 album. No, I've never seen it, but it was the #1 album.
I got your joke, Kevin.
Like 2 months.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, soundtrack albums are hot this year.
Yeah.
Like Hansel.
Thank you,
He's
Dave,
so
with
hot
that
right now.
forecast.
That's right.
That Hansel is so hot right now.
Yeah.
Just like that joke.
Blue Steel.
Yeah.
I do feel compelled to quickly get through my list so it doesn't go on forever. But Orange is the New Black is very extremely sparsely scored. A little bit of guitar here and there and some strings. Very, very, very tiny bits here and there, and appropriate because the show runs off its performances. And the humor is a very unique. It's just unique. It's kind of a black humor mixed with the circumstances there, and it's very well done. So not a lot of score, it doesn't need to be, but it is provided by Scott Doherty, Brandon Jay, and Gwendolyn Sanford. And Hemlock Grove, as I mentioned, by Nathan Barr, returns the exact same opening main title music by Nathan Barr. It's effectively like atmospheric and sort of spooky and all of that. I wish the show could deliver on what the music set you up for. But anyway, Empire of the Sun, well, let me skip these for a second. The Inside Llewyn Davis is all folk music, but I gotta say, I watched the credits. Everyone in the movie who sings is actually really the ones who are performing that music. So it's awesome to hear Oscar, oh crap, I forgot his, Oscar Isaacs, I believe, is the lead actor, and he's fantastic. And every time he sings a song, it's just, this was wonderful. And then Marcus Mumford and T-Bone Burnett, Marcus Mumford being one of the lead guys from Mumford & Sons, are working together as the producers to sort of guide the sound and the style and the way in which the music works in the film. So no score to speak of, but they do use a lot of scoring techniques, as in montage and transitions between scenes, but with folk music, and it does lend a very appropriate kind of aesthetic to the film. And then the only other things I just want to say is I've always loved Empire of the Sun score by John Williams. I believe it's 86 or 87 that he worked with Spielberg on the film. Young Christian Bale before Batman, before American Psycho is...
That's right, yeah. He was like... Was he a kid or was he a teenager? I don't remember.
Oh,
he was really young in that movie.
His voice is still pretty high from what I recall, so I want to say he's like 13 or 14.
Okay.
And he's good. I mean, he sometimes is trying to go a little too much for that Oscar, but no, basically though, I mean, it's a decent film. It's a great score, and the new 2 CD version really gives fans, I think, what they like these days, which is expanded releases, longer queues. The alternate takes are there, so that's really cool. And it's just nice to hear. It sounds great. The remastered version is fantastic. And then How to Train Your Dragon 2 is sort of like with John Powell's return to all the themes. He's got a few extra new themes for the new characters in the film, so that was appropriate. But it is fun to hear and imagine how many more variations can he do on this kind of like high-octane steroid, Gaelic meets Viking meets jigs meets Irish meets steroids. You know, how many like variations can he do on that style? And he still provides with a lot more colorful renditions of them. So it's a very fun listen. So that was kind of that's my onslaught for what I've been listening to.
Let me be devil's advocate a little bit here, Bill. Both with Empire of the Sun, the 2 CD set, and How to Train Your Dragon. I've got the regular 1-disc Empire of the Sun recording that's been out for years. And I've got the John Powell How to Train Your Dragon, the first one. So like I said, let me be devil's advocate here a little bit. In some ways, I mean, I like both of those scores, but I feel like having what I just mentioned, just the 1-disc Empire and the original How to Train Your Dragon, that's maybe enough. Is it worth it? Do you think going for the 2-disc Empire of the Sun and the How to Train Your Dragon 2 soundtrack?
No, good question. I would say How to Train Your Dragon. No, I think you could be okay with the first score and have your fix of that and be fine, and you wouldn't really miss out that much. Because it's not. This is not Star Wars going to Empire Strikes Back. It's not on that kind of level of what new musical stuff is happening. It's very much. I was going to even say it's more like Home Alone going to Home Alone 2, but even Home Alone 2 has some great stuff in it that I like. But anyway, I don't think it's that different that it warrants spending the money. So I was kind of ready for that, and yet at the same time I found the differences to be nice. But as someone who Yeah, I like it, so I'm
Okay.
fine with it. I'm into it, but I'd say with the John Williams, if you're a John Williams fan and you like his stuff, I would recommend getting that for several reasons. Just because of the expansion of it, the cleanup part of it, the sort of novelty, but also for the sake of people who love film music of hearing the alternate versions. It's really interesting to hear Cadillac of the Skies with synthesizers in it. I mean, it's just kind of funny sounding because you don't normally get it that way. And to hear more of the music from the film, that's just like without a doubt. That's why I get the expanded releases, is so I can actually get the actual chronological score, the musical narrative from
Yeah.
the film from start to finish. To me, that's what makes a film score most like something like an opera, is that it's from start to finish. It follows the narrative along musically and does kind of retell the story. And so I found the album to be really nice, and they include all the sort of the edits for this original CD. They're there as well. So it's kind of there to satisfy the completist soundtrack collector. So I think
Sure.
that one I can more vouch for.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
You're not the world's best salesman, but that'll do.
It's like, yeah, I don't know this one. It's all right. I mean,
It's okay. You maybe
fine.
get it.
It's okay. I mean, if you're kind of low on cash,
Right.
save it. Buy some food instead. But anyway.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so anything you're looking forward to coming up, Kevin? Expendables 3, maybe?
Um, no, I can't say I've been paying a whole lot of close attention to Expendables 3. I'm trying to think. I know. I think the next really big thing I'm looking forward to, and from just what I gather from various social media outlets, it sounds like right now, as we speak, they are recording the final Hobbit score in New Zealand. Friend of the show
Yeah.
and Hobbit orchestrator Conrad Pope has been down there, I think, for some time now. And I've seen like Joanne Kane and a couple other music outlets have been posting photos and things from like a recording session and things like that. So
Cool.
that's a big one that I'm looking forward to. So I think, yeah, that for me, that's probably the next really big thing on my radar, because now we're getting to that point. We're in late summer, so like the number and quality of releases is kind of dropping off quite a bit. I mentioned to you, Bill, before the show, I was reading a review of The November Man, which is a new spy movie with Pierce Brosnan, which
Yeah.
usually I would get really excited about because Pierce Brosnan is the James Bond that I grew up with. So seeing Pierce Brosnan in another spy movie is I could totally get behind that. So I was reading some reviews of it, which have not been very favorable.
Wouldn't
And
you
one of
think that it was going to be James Bond though? Like if I saw Pierce Brosnan playing a spy, it would just seem like he's James Bond, and that isn't okay because he's not
well,
James Bond anymore.
I think that's exactly the point. Is I liked him as James Bond, and if this movie like gets me close to having another Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie, I'm totally okay with that.
Okay.
Like just let me have that. You know what I mean? But one of the reviews I was reading, it had one sentence about the score, and it said Marco Beltrami's score was sufficiently loud, which I think is just funny. It's certainly kind of a slam on the score, but it also covers a lot about how films are scored these days. But my original point was, we're getting to that time of year where certainly the big releases are kind of winding down. Guardians of the Galaxy and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which we haven't even really talked about, were kind of the last big ones. And then pretty soon we get into kind of the award season where a lot of the smaller art film type things are being released. So I'm sure we'll get some good scores coming up once we get closer to like December and things like that. But
Right.
certainly the big blockbuster scores are kind of done for the year.
Yeah. Okay.
I will say though, some things that I'm looking forward to in terms of scores have more to do with television. We've got in October the new Star Wars Rebels
Oh, yeah.
animated series is coming out. That'll have a great score, I'm sure. Um, this new show on Fox called Gotham, which is like a Batman prequel. I'm looking forward to that one. Which I forget who. Oh man, I forgot off the top of my head. I forgot who it is that is doing the music for that series, or for at least the pilot. But it is a fairly big name composer. Forgive me for a second as I look this up. But it is a composer who's done a fair amount of film work. Yeah, Graham Revell, however you say his
Oh
name.
yeah, Grant Rebel. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean he's done he's done real movies, and he's done a lot of TV and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that one. I think those were like the two big new TV things I was really kind of excited about.
Okay. Yeah, ditto on all that. I hadn't really actually thought about it too far. Just, but yeah, Hobbit. I could dig some of the TV stuff. I definitely want to check out, and of course the next seasons of all the big shows, Walking Dead, Mad Men, things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
We're
All right.
always lots of new Bear McCreary music to look forward to once the new television season starts, right?
That's true. That's definitely true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that will do it for this episode of Streamers and Punches. You can listen to us on soundnotion.tv/SAP, where you can subscribe to our show, leave comments, and find links to the music we spoke about. You can also subscribe to the show through iTunes. My name is Bill Witham.
And I'm Kevin Wilt.
Thank you for listening.